Alright guys, welcome back. Today we're diving into everything we know so far about Honkai Star Rail version 3.6. And when I say everything, I mean literally all the juicy details. From new characters, relic sets, the new endgame mode, even the free rewards you can grind out. So, if you're wondering whether to save your Stellar Jade or just curious about what's coming next, this video should give you the full picture. As always, keep in mind that not all leaks are 100% guaranteed, so I'll clarify what's confirmed and what's still speculative. But with that said, let's jump right in. Save up to 25% on the current banners at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description. So first up, the big highlight of 3.6, new characters. Hoyoverse really isn't slowing down with back-to-back bangers, and this time we're getting two new 5-star units, Evernight and Dan Heng, Perman Sortere. Now, Evernight is one of those units that might seem a little niche at first glance, because she's a nice remembrance character, but the way her kit works is actually really interesting. She fights alongside a memo sprite, kind of like a summoned companion, and her whole playstyle is about boosting her team while dealing consistent ice damage. What's unique is that she isn't meant to just be your main damage dealer, she's more of a sub-DPS buffer. She thrives when paired with other remembrance characters, which makes sense thematically, but also mechanically. If you've already invested in units like Castoris or Hyacine, you're probably going to see some serious synergy here. Personally, I like how Hoyo is leaning into these themed team compositions. It reminds me of how Nihility units slowly evolved into core debuff teams back in earlier patches. Then there's Dan Heng, Perman Sortere. Yes, Dan Heng is back again, but this time he's showing up as a physical preservation character. So instead of being the fast, spear-wielding main DPS we're used to, this version of him is built around shielding and protecting the team. And the cool twist is that his shields actually scale with attack rather than defense, which is unusual for a preservation unit. That opens up some interesting build paths. Since you're not just stacking flat defense, you actually want offensive stats to make his shields bigger. Based on what we've seen, he pairs well with characters like Anaxa, Sunday, and Phanon, so he definitely fits into that heavier, sustain-oriented playstyle while still rewarding aggressive builds. If this sounds familiar, it's because Hoyo has done this kind of role swap before. Think about how characters like Fuxuan or Gepard really defined what preservation could do, and now they're experimenting again with a unit that protects but doesn't completely sacrifice offensive scaling. Of course, every major update comes with new relics, and version 3.6 is no different. The standout set this time is called World Remaking Deliverer, and it is clearly designed with Evernight in mind. The two-piece bonus is simple, but effective. An 8% increase to critical rate, but the 4-piece is where things get spicy. After using a basic attack or a skill, if your memo sprite is on the field, the set boosts the wearer's max HP by 24%, also boosting the memo sprite's HP. And on top of that, it increases all allies' damage by 8% until your next turn. This is one of those sets that isn't just for Evernight. It has that classic Hoyo flavor, where the set screams, "This is her best in slot." But at the same time, you can probably experiment with it on other summon-based or supportive characters down the line. The extra team damage buff is a big deal, because it turns what would normally just be a personal stat boost into something that benefits your whole party. And let's be honest, sets like this tend to become staples in the meta when they offer group-wide utility. Now, the biggest addition outside of characters in 3.6 has to be the new endgame mode, Anomaly Arbitration. If you've been feeling like Memory of Chaos and Pure Fiction just aren't scratching that hardcore itch anymore, this is where Hoyo is stepping things up. It's a chess-themed mode, which is a neat aesthetic choice, but don't let the visuals fool you. It's brutal. There are 3 stages called Night 1, 2, and 3, and then a final stage called Checkmate. Each night stage requires its own team, so you need at least 3 fully built squads ready to go. Then for the Checkmate stage, you can reuse your night teams, but you'll still want flexibility since the difficulty spikes. And for those who think that isn't enough, there's also something called Checkmate Zugzwang, which is basically a much harder variant of the final fight. What makes Anomaly Arbitration so interesting isn't just the difficulty, it's the rewards. Each night stage gives you 1 self-modeling resin and 200 lone Stardust, which is the new currency tied to this mode. Then the Checkmate stage rewards even more lone Stardust, depending on how fast you clear it. And here's where things get wild. If you manage to zero cycle the Checkmate stage, or if you can just pass the Zugzwang variant, you unlock the highest level avatar frame. That's the kind of cosmetic flex that only the sweatiest players are going to show off, and honestly, I'm here for it. But the real game changer hidden in these rewards is the new item called the Interference Key. This is a relic reroll tool that works alongside the variable dice we already know. When you reroll a relic, the Interference Key lets you block a specific substat so it doesn't get upgraded during the reroll. Finally, some control over relic RNG. This is something players have been begging for forever, and while it doesn't completely fix the grind, it at least makes it a little less painful. If you've ever rolled flat defense or flat HP on your DPS piece 5 times in a row, you know exactly how big this is. Now, since Lone Stardust is the core currency of this new mode, what can you actually do with it? Well, the Anomaly Arbitration Shop is adding some pretty fun cosmetic rewards. You can pick up a new pom-pom outfit, which is basically a blue pajama skin, for 800 Lone Stardust. And if you're into pets, there's also a brand new companion that looks like a darker version of Bubbles, themed after Evernight. It's black and white with red eyes, and it costs 1,600 Lone Stardust. These rewards are obviously more about style than power, but that's what makes them fun. They're grindable cosmetics that give players something to flex outside of just power creep. Lone Stardust can also be purchased in the Memory of Chaos shop, so you're not fully locked behind Anomaly Arbitration for farming it. So where does that leave us in terms of free rewards for this patch? Anomaly Arbitration itself is handing out a ton of stuff, like self-modeling resins, interference keys, avatar frames, and of course those cosmetics. All of that is completely free as long as you put in the time to clear the stages. And while there have been whispers that Danheng Bite Permansor Terre might be obtainable for free through the main storyline, I need to stress this: it is not confirmed. Right now, that's purely speculation based on leaks, so don't take it as guaranteed. Still, it wouldn't be shocking if Hoyo pulled a move like this, since they've occasionally given away powerful units in the past. Looking at this whole patch in context, I think it's one of those updates that really shows how Hoyo is trying to balance progression with player satisfaction. We're getting a very specific new niche character in Evernight, a surprising reimagining of a fan favorite in Danheng, a relic set that finally gives summon-based playstyles some extra power, and an endgame mode that not only challenges players mechanically, but also rewards them with meaningful, practical tools like the interference key. Plus, the cosmetic shop gives more casual players something to chase, even if they're not min-maxing. It's a nice mix of hardcore and fun content. So, what do you guys think about version 3.6? Are you more excited for Evernight and her Remembrance synergies, or are you saving up for Danheng's new form? And how do you feel about Anomaly Arbitration? Do you like the idea of a chess-themed endgame mode with cosmetics and relic reroll tools? Or does it sound like just another grind? Personally, I think this is one of the better updates in terms of long-term value, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. That's going to wrap up this overview of Honkai Star Rail 3.6. If you found this helpful or just enjoy keeping up with all the latest leaks and news, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Save up to 25% on the current banners at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description.